It's everything I dreamed of.
I want to tell my dad that I love him.
I still don't know what just happened.
I'm just so grateful for the opportunity to play this game. You know, you can accomplish anything in life you're willing to work for.
A legacy is not what you give people, it's what you put inside people, but also what they put inside of me. You know, this game has given me a lot, but at the same time, I need to give my family more.
Hey everyone, welcome to Beyond the Locker Room. Maria Prekeges here. It's Beyond the Locker Room with Maria. Big Brother Pete's going to be our first guest, first podcast and vlog, but I'm super excited to have my buddy Trevor because we need to cover everything NFL with T-Bone Steak.
How's it going, everybody? Pleasure to be here.
I love it. So Pete's my big bro. Trevor, you're almost like my little bro. That's how I like to call you.
I was just going to say that too. I am honored to be
you know. So we'll get to Pete in a minute, but during this podcast and vlog, we are going to go over all what's happening. But first, a little bit about you. How'd you get into football? And especially your team's the Eagle, mine's the Seahawks. We'll discuss their demise, right, in a little bit.
Yeah, totally. I got into football because of my dad. He is from Philadelphia, so we grew up watching the Eagles. And if you wanted to eat at dinner, you were watching the Eagles. So that's how I got into football. How about yourself?
Well, same thing. My dad was a huge fan. I talk about this with my brother later. We all would go to church. Yes, even Pete. And then we'd pile into my dad's huge king-size bed and, have snacks and just watch football the rest of the day on Sunday. So it was great. So that's how I got into it. But let's talk about our teams. Both of them not doing so well, third of the way through the season.
I mean, I would say that the Eagles looked like a complete dumpster fire last game. The best part of the highs of the season for the Eagles were the first game. They were picked to win 4 games in the season. After they won that first game, they were picked to win 11. And then all downhill from there. The last game was a complete dumpster fire. I already said that. But it was a complete embarrassment up and down for the organization, as I feel. It's a little like Jalen Hurts. Yeah, you've got your rookie season going, but, they're not running the ball. The coaches aren't on the same page. The defense looks soft. Everybody says they're soft. And I was just glad that I didn't get to watch it. And I actually almost went to the Raiders game. I am going to the Denver game in a couple weeks. And the good thing is that Denver is not very good either. So maybe we'll win.
Maybe. Well, my Seahawks didn't look so great. And, Russell Wilson out with an injury. That's obviously a huge part of it.
Yeah, that is the biggest part, I think. I mean, when it starts, your best player is him, obviously. And when you can't have the best player, get the ball to your other best players, it really, really puts a damper on the situation.
Well, I was watching one of the sports shows, and they were already dissing on the coach. And, maybe it's time for him to go. And everyone's like, he's taken them to how many playoffs over the last few years? I mean, crazy. And I love me some Pete.
I love Pete Carroll. I loved when he paid his players at USC. I love that. He's a player's coach, and what's not to love about him? I mean, the guy, except for that when he didn't run the ball on the Super Bowl, that was pretty bad.
Yeah, that crushed everyone.
Yeah, but he's a great coach. I think the fans are just frustrated, and they've got to blame somebody right now, and he's the guy to blame right now because they were all over Russell Wilson in the summer, and now it's moved on from him because he's hurt. So someone else has to take the blame. Yeah.
No, you can never please everyone, especially a bunch of rabid fans. So let's talk some highlights from the last week. Tom Brady, whether you like him or not, 600 touchdown passes.
Yeah, that's amazing. And also, he gave a high five to that cancer survivor kid too.
Yeah.
I mean, like him or hate him, like you said, I hated him when he was with who's that stupid team? The Patriots. Yeah, they won a bunch of. But I hated him, and ever since he's gone to Tampa, I almost like him now because he's kind of cool. he's pretty cool.
Well, and you did a little research on the guy that received the touchdown gave it to a fan.
Yeah, Mike Evans gave the ball to a fan, and the fan gave it back right away. I would have kept it, I think, but that the strength coach. Or the defensive coach is sitting there yelling at the guy. He gives it back. So they said the ball was worth $500,000. The fan gave it back. The fan received 2 signed jerseys and a helmet from Tom Brady, a signed Mike Evans jersey, and also game-worn cleats, $1,000 to the Bucks team store, season tickets for this year and next year, and 1 Bitcoin. I think they came up about $350,000 short on his winnings, but you still got to be pretty happy about it, I guess.
Yeah, poor Mike Evans didn't even realize. He was just like, yeah, here.
I mean, you got to think that that's a talk in the locker room that, like, hey, if anybody scores, make sure you get that ball to Tom Brady because if he throws a touchdown. You know? I mean, it's just like, that was the biggest miscommunication of the game there.
It was. Yeah. It was. So what else do you have for me this week?
Oh, what else do we got? We've got, let's see here. Taunting calls are a big thing in the NFL now. I've seen some pretty bad calls as far as players making a tackle, and they're not really like in the person's face per se, but they're getting flags. And the Eagles actually, I think it was a pretty pivotal part in the game. Avery made a tackle. It was 2 weeks ago, and they gave him. It was against Tom Brady's team, and he did it against Leonard Fournette, and they gave him 15 yards for standing in front of him. And I thought it was a pretty pivotal play of the game, and I don't know where they're going or what the NFL is doing about it, but it seems to be a very hot topic around the NFL. And, I mean, excessive celebration, I get it, but when you're making offensive players get to spike the ball in the end zone, defensive players make a tackle, and now they're getting flagged. It makes no sense to me.
Well, and no, it's a little, I mean, I know that they want safety of the game, and but it's football. They can be big bullies in some respects.
And this week isn't trade deadlines coming up too?
Yes. And
I believe Deshaun Watson is hot topic, and the Dolphins are looking. The Eagles might even be looking because they're looking at 3 first-round draft picks next year, and all the teams that they're going to get the draft picks from are very bad. So there might be 3 picks in the top 8.
Well, and here's my question, because I never played. I just love the game.
You never played football?
Oh, yeah. Funny thing. I never played sport. I was the rah-rah cheerleader. Shocking, I know. But your team, you're at the bottom of the league. How do you, I know they're athletes and they're competitive and they want to win, but how do you not throw those last few games to get the first-round draft pick?
Well, the Eagles did that last year, and they got a lot of crap for it. And I mean, tanking's a part of the game. I think whether you like it or not, like Tom Brady, it's just it is what it is. And if you need that first-round draft pick, unfortunately, it's like the teams that get it don't ever seem to do anything with it. Like the Jets, they get so many first-round draft picks, and they just can't get a team together. Forever.
I have a great friend who's a Jet fan, and you can't call him during the game. He doesn't even go up to go to the restroom. He's like just there because he thinks it will jinx it. And I think this year he's finally just getting up, going to the restroom, getting himself something to drink or eat.
I've a couple games I haven't watched this year that we won, and it was like maybe I shouldn't watch the games at all because obviously it's up to me. It's not coaching. It's not Jalen Hurts. It's if I watch the game, and that's it.
Well, and superstitions. I do a lot of rodeo, as you know, produce and host a lot of rodeos, and talk about superstitions. They have some weird ones there, but that's for another time. Anything else you have for me this fine day?
Let's see. The Packers receivers are all on the COVID list right now, too. Devontae Adams, and then I believe their other receiver, I can't remember his name, Lazard. He just went on too, so they could be looking at a rough weekend. And they're playing someone pretty good too. I can't remember who, but I have the tight end for the Packers in my fantasy team. So if their 2 receivers are out, then Tunyon is going to be looking great.
Okay, Fantasy League, a whole other series as well, because I was like, I get it. I get how you do it, but I was like, how? But it's just another game to play.
Oh, it's just Dungeons and Dragons for jocks.
I never played Dungeon. I don't think we had it at our house growing up.
It's I never played it either, but it's been described to me. I have friends that played it, and I would never play it, but
that's so funny.
Yeah, it is pretty funny.
And the game lasts for it's like cricket. It lasts for 12 days.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't understand cricket either.
I don't. Yeah,
Yeah, well, that's not.
No idea. We're talking football instead, so thank goodness. Thank goodness. What I'm going to get to your list, but what about on ESPN2, Peyton and Eli? They were so successful the first couple weeks. So Monday Night Football, have you seen this?
Oh, I just, my friend was telling me about it, and I didn't realize that there was another stream. And I watched it, and I think those guys are so funny.
They're awesome. They had Drew Brees on this week, and just to talk. So you have the game, which is great. You know what's going on. And then they just talk and they analyze and then they give each other grief. And I think it's a great broadcast.
I think they silenced Tom Brady this week, too. He was on there as a guest, and they were like, yeah, whatever. They are a dynamic duo. I mean, even separately, they are amazing. And then when you bring them together, it's even better.
Yeah, no. They're hilarious. All right, we're going to wrap things up soon, but what else do you have on that list of yours? Because I want to get to it.
Let's see here. Buyers, sellers. I believe that the Eagles will be selling everybody because they're not very good. Unfortunately, I think it'll be the first year that I have to get rid of a jersey. They'll be getting rid of Fletcher Cox, and that'll be my first jersey I've ever had a person traded. And I always give my brother crap because he had Carson Wentz and they traded him, and my other brother had Carson Wentz, so I got to double down on them, and now they're going to get it back to me, and it's really not going to be good.
That's why you just have a be on the locker room jersey like me, and then you're good because you never have to give them up.
And another thing that we could talk about, 7-0.
Oh yeah, no, that is on my list.
Another reason why the Seahawks are so bad too, because Arizona is so good, and they just got Zach Ertz from the Eagles, who had an amazing touchdown, and I cried. And he actually threw something to an Eagles fan after the game. It's pretty cool.
That has to be hard going back. Like Tom Brady a couple weeks ago went back to New England, but he's like, after the game it was all worth it. Of course he won, so it was all worth it. But hugging everyone and saying hi to everyone. It
was interesting to watch him play Bill Belichick. It's interesting to see a player play a coach that knows everything about him. And I mean, it was like he had the defensive schemes going and confusing him. And then they almost won, and they lost by hitting the field goal post.
I know that was when you're a kicker. I know it's not just the kicker's game, but that you got to make those.
I mean, well, at the same time, it was raining and it was blowing like 30 miles an hour. I mean, he had a Ray Finkel moment,
Yeah.
Laces out.
Our laces are always out. With Sid, you got to say hi to Sid. He's my This morning when I have to get up early, you don't require sleep, but let me tell you, I do, and I feel like Sid the Sloth today. But yeah, Cardinals 7-0. I'm jumping on that bandwagon. Why not?
I think so too. I mean, Kyler Murray is one of the most exciting quarterbacks to watch, and they've just done this thing the last couple years where they just keep picking up guys like J.J. Watt, and then they picked up Zach Ertz, and even before that, they got Hicks from the Eagles too, who's an amazing linebacker, and they just keep on picking up. And I mean, the Rams are so good too. I mean, that whole division is unreal, and the Seahawks are good, but like they're the worst team in that division, but like that division is awesome. And like if you look at the NFL league, they're not the worst team in the league. It's just that division is like the nuclear arms race. Like everybody's gearing up for war, and they just got the best players, and like Matthew Stafford is unreal, and the Cardinals are unreal. And Geno Smith is not so unreal. He's not very good.
No. I didn't even know. I mean, all the Seahawks stuff. I was like, who's the backup? And everyone else was like, yeah, we didn't know either. We're like, who's the backup?
Yeah, when he got hurt, everybody's like, oh, that's where Geno Smith is.
Well, yeah, because he's bounced around a bunch.
Yeah, I thought he was done. Sadly to say, I did the same thing too.
Well, yeah, and you know way more than myself. I just like to talk to people about football, learn more, and share our thoughts. So we're going to get to Big Brother Peak. We are here at Grumpy's, thanks to that. Grumpy's come in, see Trev. I just do the books. That's all he lets me do. Nothing behind the counter.
I do everything else because he doesn't let me do the books, which is fine.
Exactly. But you're not on the wall.
I am over there.
Oh, you are on the other side?
I'm over there, yeah.
Yeah, well, Grumpy's Sun Valley. Come get your burger. T-Bone. How'd you get the nickname T-Bone?
I don't know. I think it was they were making fun of me when I first started working here, and they were watching, I think, Seinfeld, and then the Coco T-Bone episode came on where George wanted to be T-Bone, but they acted like the monkey, so they called him Coco the monkey. And he said it was my pledge name, so it wasn't my choice. And if you act like you don't like a name, guess what?
You're gonna. It's mine was packaged cheese because Prekeges. People still to this day they're
Oh
like,
my God.
"How do you pronounce it?" I go, "Think packaged cheese, Prekeges." I was on a business call yesterday and I said that, and I go, "I don't know if that was super business like, but they got it because they want to know how to pronounce my last name."
I think simple is the best way to go.
Yeah, I'll still call you Trev or Trevi. Yeah, let's not have that stick.
Packaged cheese. That's so
Packaged.
funny.
Isn't that funny?
Did somebody call you that, or did you make that up?
No, someone called me that. And look, people are coming in. We'll get some more next week, every Thursday, right here on Beyond the Locker Room with Maria. Up next, Pete.
All right. Thank you, Maria.
Thank you. Welcome to our first episode. And of course, I have Big Brother Pete, because, who else would get up this early at his own place?
Good morning, Maria. Thanks for having me on your first inaugural podcast.
I know. It's I did the print so big on my questions that I wouldn't have to wear these, but it's still not that big, so.
That's what happens when we age.
I don't like aging. So
Aging's bad.
This podcast is called Beyond the Locker Room, so I'm going beyond the locker room. Why? Because I don't need to be in the locker room with all the sweaty people. Grossness. So I'm going to bring...
Men's bodies are ugly.
I'm not going there. You're my brother. Gross. Anyway. So it's really about NFL, but the middle section of my podcast is just going to be about people who played football, who love football. And you did. I have to start because we have to give our friend Mark Rippon a shout out. You were his guard in high school. What were you, 5'10", 170?
No, I was 5'11", 195 as a senior in high school, all league offensive guard at that size. But that was in 1980-81. And when Mark Rippon's your quarterback, you don't do a lot of run blocking.
Is that why? I know. I forgot you were all GSL guard, right?
All
guard.
all Greater Spokane League. But yeah, we had two running plays. One was a draw, and one was the screen pass.
Well, he was MVP of the Super Bowl, so you know.
Yeah, you got to give him some creds.
We will hopefully we are going to get him, his nephew Brett. You don't know that yet, Rippon, and then Brett's dad Timmy. So that's going to be a 3-part series. You got to go with the nepotism when you first start out things like this.
Yeah, we're the Polish-Greek mafia from Spokane, the Rippons and the Prekeges.
They were Polish. God, great
They
family.
still are.
They are. They were and they are. So let's talk about history in the sport of football. When did you start? Did our dad get you into it? I'm assuming.
I don't remember. So we played growing up in Spokane. There was a junior football league. It was called junior football. It had weight divisions, which is nice looking back on it. And I played for the Eagles.
I remember that.
Yeah, and Coach Van Oss, and he was a great coach. And his son, his first name, his son was the quarterback. Of course, that's usually true in young junior football leagues. The dad's the coach and the son's the quarterback. But that's when I started, 7th grade, and it's probably about early enough to start playing football. I don't want to discount the game of football because I love it, but you can teach someone how to play the game of football in about a month.
In about a month?
Yeah, because it's the first 5 steps got to be hard. And you gotta be willing to deliver the blow.
So, what was your position?
You know what? I actually played fullback and linebacker. I don't know if we played both, but you each had an offensive and defensive position. Yeah, so fullback. I didn't carry the ball much, a lot of blocking.
Hence, then you became a right guard.
That's right.
I love it. So what did you like about football? Because you went on through actually college. Yes, he played for Whitworth. But
now back then it was Whitworth College. Now it's Whitworth University. Oh. Back then it was NAIA Division II, so the smallest 4-year school you could play football at. Whitworth and that whole league has gone to Division III and their facilities. We used to practice at Whitworth on what we called the Moon Bowl because it had so many holes in the grass on the back 40 that when you practice, you better be looking for holes or else you were done with an ankle sprain. But no, so I played just 1 year of a very small college football. But, I have to tell you, for me, I was strong. I had a good first 5 steps. And I could hit and deliver a blow. And your brother is not as coordinated as he is faked being for his life playing hockey and football. But those are sports that you need strong, mean guys. And I was a strong, mean guy. And so it was something to do. And then, anything that keeps you off the streets, especially your brother.
We won't go into that. That's a whole other 3-hour podcast.
That's a whole other that's a podcast on Raising Cain. But it was great. And, as you know, I'm still good friends with so many guys that I played football with. And, my not main sport, but the one I played the most was, hockey, but in junior hockey. But I'm still in contact with, I could name, 5 guys right now that I played high school football with. That we still, when I go to Seattle, we still go out for a drink and get together and shoot the shit, as they say. And then, playing high school football, glory days.
Well, yeah,
right? Was great. And having Rip as the quarterback was just a pretty amazing thing when you look back at it, because, you don't know this guy. Well, you knew this guy was going to go pro. I think we knew then. That he had a bright future in pro football, but it was pretty amazing watching him, in high school throw the ball 60 yards.
When you won the Greater Spokane League title, what was that? I remember Mom was on the field, Dad, we were all crying and hugging, and it was a big deal.
Well, once again, just like the movie Friday Night Lights in Texas and Spokane at that time was, I would still say, not a big town, and we had Friday Night Lights. And it was amazing because Shadle, I don't think, had ever won it. And it was a school that was opened in 1963. And so it was a big deal. It was a really big deal. And then, of course, we beat Gonzaga Prep, which is
right.
always. So, it's funny, the things you remember. The first game we played as seniors was against Gonzaga Prep. And they had a kid who started going to school there who was at Lewis and Clark. And then another guy, and they were both basically tailbacks, and we didn't know whether they were going to come out in an I formation with the bigger one as fullback or what. And so we really couldn't prepare for them. And I think Rippon had over maybe 400 yards in passing, and they had 400 yards on the ground. And we beat them by 3 points, 35, 32, something like that. But what I remember is that before that first game, the coach didn't announce who was captains till before we took the field. And so I had a bad stomach. And he announced that Mark and I were elected captains. And we took the field. And that was, in Joe Albee Stadium. So we're in high school. And there was 10,000 people there. The stadium sat 30, I think, but it was, and what it was the biggest garbage field. It was like concrete with AstroTurf.
I was going to say it was a turf field. I remember that.
Turf. That's stretching the word turf. It was AstroTurf. I didn't have, you'd fall on that field and your arms were skinned, and it was just, a real, but, we were under the lights on Friday, and it was, crazy when you think about it. But like I say, Friday Night Lights.
No, it was fun. I remember that day. Talk about your high school football coach. I can't remember.
Bob Haney.
Oh, Mr. Haney. I
Mr.
remember
Haney.
him.
Don't make me talk about Haney.
He
was my coach because they all had a position coach.
Yeah.
And he was an offensive line coach, and he had a great system. The problem was with Coach Haney is that he never changed it. So guys I played with 7 years later are coaching at a rival high school and telling their people what all the line calls meant and all that. So Bob had a great system. He was great. And, he was a motivator, head coach. He'd come in and tell Coach Brown, I need a quick pitch this week. And Coach Brown would install a quick pitch. And the defensive line coach, come on. That's horrible, because we were friends with him long after high school.
Yeah.
And he was a motivator. He had a great, he was even better, I think, than Coach Haney. But Bob Haney was good. I mean, he took not just us, but a few other teams, I think, into the playoffs after my career. But I'm pretty sure my career, that's hilarious. My time playing high school football, that's what it was, a career. I think you get paid for careers. So it was, he was a great motivator, great guy, good coach. We'd go over to his house for his mom make us donuts, the seniors. All the senior classes, year after year would have a little, he was, they didn't call it team building back then.
No, it was just.
But it was team building. Isn't that funny?
Isn't that funny? Oh, my word. I remember that. So I have to say and give a little love to you, because I'll never forget the banquet. High school teams always have the banquets, and it's most inspirationals coming up. And I was there with mom and dad, and everyone's like, "Oh, Mark Rippon's a shoo-in." And all of a sudden, they called your name, and everyone was like, "Huh?" But you were. I mean, first, let's talk about what was it like as Mark as a leader. But you really, besides inspirational, you got a lot of people to those games. You kept the team up, and you got that award. And then I had to look at your face for a year.
I know, a year. I think it was up in the gym
a couple
for longer.
years. Yeah.
Once again, I've coached, like I say, I've coached every level of youth hockey poorly, but I'm more of an assistant coach, rah-rah guy, right? Whether it's here at Grumpy's managing my staff, or whether it was in the locker room with, the players, I was a bit of a motivator, and most inspirational is also a good way of saying least coordinated. But, once again, if you want to be a part of the team, you've got to find your spot. And my spot was hitting people hard and motivating. And, and it's funny you say getting the people out, because back then, and I don't know how far we want to get into it, but on Fridays we'd wear our jerseys to school, and back then there was a jock parking lot and a head lot. And for those of you who don't know what a head is, maybe that's on the Google, on the interweb.
On the Google.
But I went out to the head lot and pounded on everyone's Chevelles and GTOs and El Caminos. This is the early '80s, everyone. And I'd tell you what, that lot had a lot of cars, and I'd go out there and bang on them and make sure, you come to the game tonight. Oh yeah, we're coming to the game, Greek. You're gonna hit someone tonight? Yeah, I'm gonna hit someone. And then I'd find out where the party was after.
Which, of course, you never went to, because you had to sign
Lord.
Contracts back then.
No, yeah, I went to every party.
I know, that's right. It's way in the past. No, you did, and you got people there, and people, I remember when I finally got to high school, it was like, oh yeah, your brother used to get everyone out there, and they had their own little cheering section.
Oh yeah, well, and then of course being Greek, we had that community.
Yeah, everyone.
That was. I had my own cheering section for that, and then I had the guys from the head lot, and but I got in trouble because Coach Haney's window overlooked the head lot, and when I came back in, he was steamed, and he called me into his office, and he said, "What are you doing out there? That's not where we want our players." And I looked at him and I said, "You know what, Coach, you can not start me, you can take away my captaincy, but you can't choose my friends, and I'm not doing anything wrong." And he looked, and his face went blank, and he went, "Get out of here."
Yeah, well, and you got a lot of people. We'll talk about, the whole Greek thing. We'll talk about how I got into football. But first, what was it like with Mark, even in high school? Was he just a born leader, even back then?
Well, he was, and he was just such a great athlete. And what will really, I think, blow people's minds. So we're in high school, and he was quarterback, and he called his own plays. I mean, in baseball right now, in the major leagues, the catcher has one of those armbands, and they're getting signals from the dugout on every pitch to throw this guy. And Mark was such a student of the game, and his preparation back then with Coach Brown was so intense that he called his own. I mean, there were times, obviously, where the coach wanted to run something and put it in, but if what he was calling was going right, they just let him call his own plays. And every now and then he'd, in football, there's no talking in the huddle, unless you're the quarterback.
I'd never
right?
make it.
Yeah, no kidding. And I barely made it. But as the captain, if I wanted to say something in the huddle, I could say something without getting in trouble. But one time Mark came back and he had scrambled. And what's funny about Mark is that he could even then he was probably 6'3", 6'4", 220. And he was running and he had good moves. And so he comes back to the huddle and he's just panting. And he had just scrambled for about 20 yards and it's first down and he said, nothing. And I'm looking at the play clock and it's going down. And I'm like, hey, Mark, run a 32 dive right over my butt. I got this linebacker. And his tired face went right away. His serious face came on. And he goes, okay, we're running an 80 series. We want to hitch. We want to post. And we want to flag on 3 on 3. And we break the huddle. And he completes about a 20-yard pass on the post and comes back to the huddle, and he always licked his fingers like quarterbacks do, and he licks his fingers and looks at me and goes, 32 dive. We don't run the ball.
No, not when you have Mark Rippon.
No, there's no reason to.
I love it. Well, we are going to take a break and we're going to continue this conversation about, I know your college coach is great, next week. This is a 2-part series with my brother Pete, whether he likes it or whether we like it or not. And of course, we're coming at you from Grumpy Sun Valley. Thanks for letting me set
Grumpy Sun
up.
Valley. That's right.
Best burger, schooners of beer. We got to get all your
Lots
followers.
of stuff on the walls.
Yeah, I'm actually on the wall right there with the big fish.
With your big fish. I'm on the wall too, but that's a different story.
Oh, yeah, that is a different story. Thanks for joining us today on Beyond the Locker Room. We will see you and hear you next week. Remember, Beyond the Locker Room with Maria on YouTube. And, of course, the Believe Network. That's what we're doing this all for. And wherever you get your podcasts. And we'll see you next week. More with Pete. Stay tuned. Yes, it's that time for Maria's Minute, where I get to talk about anything I want. And it might be more than a minute. We know this. So this week, with all the craziness going on in the world, I want to tell you an old slogan. I want to share it with you. It's be kind, rewind. Now, what does that have to do with what's going on in the world and being kind to others? Well, I'll explain it to you. When you used to rent a VHS tape, that was before the DVD, and a lot of you millennials and more won't even know what a DVD is maybe, but you'd go to the rental store and you'd pick out your favorite movie you wanted to see. You've been waiting to see it, right? You'd take it home, you'd put it in the VHS player, and you'd hit play and nothing. Why? Because the person who rented it in front of you didn't rewind it. Now, what does it take you guys? A minute to 2 minutes? Someone help me out with this. To rewind an old VHS tape? That's all it takes. So Be Kind, Rewind was a sticker you saw on every tape you rented. So how do you apply this to today's society? Take 60 seconds. Take 60 seconds to breathe. Take 60 or fewer seconds to let the person in front of you in the grocery store line say hello. Take 60 seconds to smile. Heck, take 3 seconds to smile. But just take that extra minute or two in your everyday life and be kind, rewind. Be amazing what might just happen. Thanks for watching and listening this week. We'll see you next week on Beyond the Locker Room with Maria. Can't wait.